Welcome to today's afternoon AI update, a quick deep dive on Perplexity's new searches code. Here's the whole story in one line. AI is moving from typing into a search box to programming the search engine itself. Let's unpack it. Here's the entire update in one sentence, then we'll spend the rest of the session unpacking it. Today, when an AI agent searches the web, it behaves like a person at a keyboard. It asks the search engine something, waits, reads the results, decides what to ask next, and repeats, sometimes hundreds of times for a single hard question. Search's code flips that completely. Instead of asking over and over, the agent writes a small program that runs the entire search by itself. Anchor on 3 phrases. Parallel, not serial. It does many searches at the same time instead of one after another. One execution, not hundreds of loops. It all runs as a single program. And the payoff faster and cheaper. I'd actually pause here and check the room, because this is the load-bearing idea. If the agent writes a program instead of asking repeatedly lands, the rest is easy. Let's feel why the old way hurt. Let's make the old way concrete, because you can't appreciate the fix until you feel the pain. Think about how you research something complicated, comparing 10 laptops, say. You type a query, wait, read, think okay now I need reviews, type again, wait again. Slow and a bit maddening, right? An AI agent does exactly that, except it might repeat the loop hundreds of times for one complex task. Now here's the expensive part, and this is the bit worth saying slowly. Every single loop is a full round trip. The model has to wake up, send a request to the search tool, wait for it to come back, and reread everything before it can even decide the next step. Each of those round trips costs time and money, because the AI is actively thinking, burning tokens, at every step. So a genuinely hard question can mean the agent sits in this type, wait, read, think loop hundreds of times over. That is the bottleneck. Hold on to that frustration, because the next slide is the fix. So here's the actual move. Instead of handing the AI a search box and making it type queries one at a time, Perplexity hands it the keys to the search engine in the form of code. Look at the little program on the right, and don't worry about the syntax. Just follow its shape, top to bottom. First line, it fires off hundreds of searches all at once. That's the fanout, parallel part. Second line, it automatically ranks the results and keeps only the best 20. Last line, it summarizes those down to just what's useful. The agent writes this little program, and the program does all the searching in a single shot. For the non-technical folks, the analogy is, instead of asking a librarian one question at a time, you hand them a written research plan, and they go execute the whole thing. For the engineers in the room, this is real Python calling the search primitives directly, same search rank filter logic as before, but collapsed into one program instead of hundreds of conversational turns. Next, the analogy that makes this stick for good. This is the slide I'd reach for if someone stops you in the hallway afterward and asks, so what was that training about? Picture cooking a complicated meal, and you've hired a delivery driver. The old way, serial tool calls, is like telling that driver bring me 1 onion. They drive to the store and back. Now garlic. Drive back again. 50 ingredients, 50 separate trips. It's slow, it's wasteful, and you're paying for every single trip. The Neve way, search as code, is like handing the driver the whole shopping list and the recipe up front. They go once, gather everything, prep it, and deliver the entire basket in one efficient run. That is exactly the difference between an agent asking the search engine over and over versus writing one program that gathers everything at once. Same destination either way, a finished meal or an answered question, but one approach burns the whole afternoon and the other doesn't. When you re-explain this to your own teams, lead with the grocery run, it lands every time. Now the how does this actually work slide, I'll keep it light, but the technical folks will want these 3 names, so here they are. Three pillars hold the whole thing up. Pillar 1. The model is the control plane. In plain language, the AI is now the one giving the orders to the search system, step by step, by writing code. It's no longer just receiving a finished list and reacting to it. Pillar 2. Secure compute sandboxes. That code has to run somewhere safe, so it runs in isolated, locked-down environments. Picture a sealed workshop where the program can do thousands of operations with zero risk to anything outside it. Pillar 3. The Agentic Search SDK. That's the toolkit, the box of building blocks the model writes its program with, and we'll open it on the next slide. One practical thing worth saying out loud so nobody thinks this is a lab demo. It's live right now in Perplexity's Agent API, and it's already the default inside their computer product. This is shipping, not theoretical. Let's open up that toolkit. Here's what I mean by building blocks. The old way basically gave the AI one button, search, and you got back whatever it decided to give you. The new toolkit takes search apart into individual Lego bricks that the model can snap together however the task needs. Retrieval, go pull candidate pages. Ranking, score which ones actually matter. Filtering, throw out the junk and the duplicates. Fanouts, branch into many queries at once, which is the parallelism we keep coming back to. Rendering, shape the final output. And that one tucked in the corner, intermediate state, is subtle but genuinely powerful. The model can peek at the half-finished work, the candidate lists, the ranking signals, and adjust its approach mid-search instead of waiting until the end. The sentence at the bottom is the one to emphasize. This is not the old search API with a code wrapper bolted on. Perplexity rebuilt their search stack from the ground up into these composable parts. That rebuild is the real engineering story here, and it's exactly what lets the model tune the pipeline on the fly rather than taking whatever it's handed. All right, let's talk receipts. Claims need receipts, so let's talk numbers. There are 4. The big one top left, up to 2.5 times better, and that's both speed and accuracy, versus the old approach. That's measured on a benchmark called WANDR, which specifically tests hard, multi-step searches, so this isn't a tiny tweak. On the genuinely difficult questions, it's a meaningful jump. 200 billion. That's how many live URLs sit in the index this runs over. It's searching a huge, current slice of the real web, not some small CAC. One execution, and I keep hammering this on purpose, because it's the heart of the whole thing. One program run replacing hundreds of back-and-forth loops. And Python. That's the language the toolkit speaks, chosen deliberately because it's what most developers and most data tools already use, which makes the agents-generated code more reliable. So if a skeptic in the room asks, is this real or is it marketing, point straight at the 2.5s on WANDR and the fact that it's already the default in a shipping product. So let's zoom out. Why should anyone in this room actually care? 4 payoffs. And they map to different people here. Faster answers. Collapsing those long loops into one parallel run means results come back quicker. That's better for anyone sitting and waiting on an AI to finish researching. Lower cost. Fewer model round trips means fewer tokens billed, and if you're running this at any kind of scale, that is real money. Cleaner code. For the builders. One program is far easier to maintain than a brittle chain of hundreds of tool calls where any single link can snap. And more control. Agents can tune the search to the exact task instead of accepting a one-size-fits-all result. But here's the bigger pattern I most want you to walk out with. Read that line at the bottom. As AI gets genuinely good at writing code, the best tools stop being buttons you press and become primitives you program. Search is simply the first big example of it. Expect this same shift, from consume the output to program the building blocks, to show up across a lot of other tools over the next year. That's the real thing to watch. And that's the wrap on today's deep dive. Quick recap before we close, because repetition is how training sticks. AI agents are moving from typing into a search box to programming the search engine directly. Parallel instead of serial, one program instead of hundreds of loops. And the payoff is search that's faster, cheaper, cleaner, and more controllable. If your teams build anything with AI, this is worth keeping a close eye on. This update was summarized and curated by Omar Hosney, and if anything today sparked a question, now is exactly the moment for it. Thanks, everyone. Let's open it up for questions.